what inspired or motivated you to get through those challenging days?
Yeah, there were a lot of challenging days. I remember, especially in the beginning, there were some days I was like, how am I going to get out of bed? Finding for me little bits of joy. It was too overwhelming to try to be like, oh, I have to be so happy.
For
But, like,
everyone.
right. I have a young daughter and my husband and those little things. I'm like, you know what? Even if I have to peel myself out of this bed right now, I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. And that was kind of my mindset. I was like, I'm going to do what I have to do. People would say, oh, you're so strong. I would never be able to do that. I was like, you act like I had the option. I didn't choose this. These were the cards that I was dealt, but I'm going to do whatever I need to do to survive this.
It's important for people who are listening to this story, your story, to hear all of that because it is a choice every single day that we make to choose how we're going to feel. And that is a very powerful thing.
And changing your perspective too. Like, people could say you're the unluckiest girl, but they could also say you're the luckiest. My story could have gone a lot of different ways. If I hadn't went in and got in check when I did, literally months, it would have been months. And my prognosis would have been very different, to the point that I probably would not be here talking to you. You know what I mean? Oh, and then they biopsied the right mass. There's a lot of things that I feel could have gone the other way, but it didn't. Changing your perspective and looking at the glass half empty, half full kind of thing.
Welcome to the Forward Think Tank podcast, a place of hope, inspiration, and education around holistic health and healing. I'm your host, Jamie Mazza, a holistic health coach, mental health advocate, and dancer. Join me as I share out-of-the-box conversations with integrative doctors, healers, and exceptional forward-thinking individuals thriving on the other side of their health challenges, as well as stories from my own personal healing journey. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so happy you're here.
Welcome back, friends. This week's episode of the Forward Think Tank is an episode that honestly makes me so happy to share and also breaks my heart at the same time. I sit down with one of my best friends for almost 30 years. Shh, don't tell, we're not that old. Hillary Willy. And she is somebody who is just such a delight. I mean, this girl has been in my life since I was 10 years old. We grew up dancing together. That has always been a big piece of who we both are. And she was my roommate in college. We've been through pretty much everything together at this point, including our diagnoses. And that is where it breaks my heart to have one of my best friends on here, someone who is also in her 30s and have been dealt this very challenging card. It was such a delight to have her on. And have her talk about her journey. I will say that I'm so thrilled to share. She just recently celebrated a 5-year cancer-free anniversary. So the fact that we can say that makes me so elated because she is a ball of joy. And you will see why I love her so much. In this episode, she talks about her journey with breast cancer. She also was somebody who found out that she had the BRCA gene and was triple negative. She takes us through that experience, getting her diagnosis, the types of tests that she went through, how she chose to go about it and treat it. But most importantly, you will see the resilience, the power, and the mindset of somebody who I am just so incredibly inspired by. I'm so proud of. I am always in awe of her. I mean, she has been through so much, her and her family and her life, including losing her mother at a very young age. We were 17. And it's something that just, it stays with you. So for her to have been dealt this very difficult card and have moved through it with such grace and such determination to get to the other side, she talks about the power of visualization and how she really made sure that she did everything that she could to heal. She kept one foot in front of the other. She had a 1.5-year-old at the time. She knew she wanted to live a great life. Hill, I love you. I wrote her bio. Usually I get this sent by people that I interview, but I'm like, who could know you better than me? Like your best friend. So She's been one of my best friends since the age of 10. And like I said, we've done so much together. We've been by each other's sides through it all. We cheered professionally in the NFL, and we've remained friends for decades. So she resides in Tampa with her loving husband, Drew, her 2 beautiful children, and she works as a registered dietitian. She has always been very active and has been a big advocate of not only self-exams, which she'll take us through how she actually found the diagnosis or what led to the diagnosis, but she's also an advocate of living a very active lifestyle. She loves to run. She's run marathons. She continues to, even in the smallest of ways, like I do, keep dance as part of our life. And it's something that has always lit us up. Shortly before the pandemic hit, she got diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. And she shares her journey again and all that kind of happened during that time. But on the other side of it, here she is looking amazing, feeling amazing, which is the most important, and really enjoying her life. So I couldn't be more honored to share this episode. Hillary, if you are watching this, you know how much I love you. I adore you. I appreciate your companionship in what has certainly been one of the hardest times in my life. And I know it was a roller coaster in yours too. So the fact that we can relate to this really breaks my heart. But knowing that I have you and somebody who has walked through the fire and who has stepped out like this gorgeous butterfly bursting from her cocoon on the other side, you are just such a pillar of inspiration and hope for me. And hopefully countless others that are watching this episode inspired by you and your grace and your grit and your dedication to just keeping everything going, one foot in front of the other. And here we are celebrating that. So please welcome one of my best friends, somebody who is bound to make you laugh at some point in this conversation, Hillary, Willy. Welcome to the Forward Think Tank, babe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this. Please, please, please share this episode with somebody you love. It could save their life. And that is why we're here sharing these stories. Thank you, Hill. I love you so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Forward Think Tank. This week, I am just so honored to be able to sit with somebody who has been near and dear to my heart, one of my best friends. We have been friends since the age of 10. We grew up dancing together, and we've gone through so many milestones of life side by side. People used to call us twins in college. My best friend, Hillary Willy. Hill, I'm so happy to have you here. It warms my heart to be having this conversation with you. It also breaks my heart a bit, as we've talked about, the fact that we have bonded over so many wonderful things, but now we have this experience of being bonded over having a significant event in our lives like a diagnosis. I appreciate you sharing your story. I think it's so powerful that we can talk about these things. And I know you feel similar. When you put that out there in the world, you could possibly make an impact and save somebody's life. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, I'm honored to be here. I love you so much. And I'm so honored, that you have this platform that allows people like me and other survivors and warriors to share their story.
Yeah. It's something that I felt really called to do. And it's something that is crazy enough affecting so many young people. I think the more that we can put our stories out there, maybe it can help inspire people and encourage people to, in this case, do a self-exam or just pay attention to symptoms that our body brings to our attention, that maybe because we're all moving and grooving and we are so young, you don't stop and think maybe this could be a sign of something deeper going on. We were talking a little bit before I hit record, and we were like, we realize we've been friends for a very long time. We don't have to.
I was going to say, we're aging ourselves, right?
Right, exactly.
30 years. I'm not that old.
But decades of friendship, and it is so special because I know people who are like, oh, I don't keep in touch with my college roommates, or I don't talk to people from high school. I'm like, this is like one of my first friends in my life. We were 10. And dance was a big part of both of our lives for so long. And I think still is, I still like consider myself a dancer, even though I'm just like dancing in my house if no one's watching. Well, let's dive into this. I know you said you were willing to share pretty openly, which again, I appreciate. So tell me what was going on in your life leading up to finding your diagnosis.
Yeah. So it's hard to even think back to that time because it seems like
Sure.
so much has happened since then. But thinking about things that were going on. So my daughter, Audrey, was a little bit more than 1.5. I remember that Drew and I were just about ready to start expanding our family. And we'd always talked about we want to have kids closer in age. That 2-year age gap sounded great at the time. And so I remember that January, we were like, okay, let's go. We're going to start trying for another baby. That is what I mostly remember about that time.
And I will never forget where I was. I was actually in this room of my house when I got your text telling me what was going on, and my jaw hit the floor. I had full body chills. I still have them talking about this.
Yeah.
It was 2020, right before shit hit the fan.
Literally
the pandemic.
I remember you and Hannah had taken that trip to see me, and literally that weekend things were shut down.
I remember getting back into the office because I was at my corporate job at the time, and there was like all these rumblings of things getting shut down. I didn't understand what is going on. And that was the last trip I took. We know what happened with the course of the pandemic, but did you have any symptoms leading up to the diagnosis? Because if I remember correctly, you found this yourself, correct? Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that.
And no, I didn't have any reason to think that anything was wrong. I felt good. Like I said, we were going to try to have another baby soon. I was feeling good at the time. What brought me even to look into anything was I was doing a self-exam on the shower, you're washing your body and just, noticing things. And I will say that prior to this, I was always told I have very dense breast tissue. We have like a lot of cysts and stuff like that. But no one ever said that it was concerning. I think a lot of us like that.
You're one of like 5 friends that have said that to me in the last couple of years. I do think, based on my experience, it's a pretty common thing.
Very common, very common. And so in this particular time doing this exam, the one thing that gave me a little pause was that I felt this little lump, kind of nodule almost. And the reason why I even thought anything of it was because I couldn't feel anything similar in the other one. And before I can feel cysts or something like that, like both of my breasts felt similar. And so if it's in one, it's in the other. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But this, I couldn't, this was in the left one. And I couldn't feel anything that felt similar in the right. And so I feel like that's why I initially was like, okay, Google, what does Google say?
Yeah, right.
And that brings you down a rabbit hole.
Yes.
I almost feel like it was good in a sense because it pushed me to look into it sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So then I'm assuming you made an appointment to go see your doctor, and what happened from there, if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about.
Yeah. I was like due for a pap smear annual exam with my gynecologist. This is a reason to like make the appointment now and get in there. When I went in to see him, I was like, I think I have breast cancer. I found a lump. And he tried to like
take a step back, calm me down.
I'm
sure.
Young. It's not likely. But I will say that I am thankful that he took my concerns seriously.
Yes.
And he was like, we're going to send you for an ultrasound. And that was the first step that I took in looking into it.
Yeah, that's good to hear that your doctor took you seriously. Nobody knows our bodies like we do ourselves.
100%.
And with the fact that you were used to doing that self-exam and notice, again, like something feels different than the other, people talk about how they get gut instincts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you clearly had an instinct, like, let me look into
Mm-hmm.
this. Nobody thinks, yeah, that's what it's going to be. So you brought that up to your OBGYN, you went to do the ultrasound, and then what happened from there? How did you end up getting the diagnosis? I remember you telling me, unless I'm muddying up the story, that what you found wasn't even the issue. Is that correct?
I'm not 100% sure if it was or was not,
Okay.
because in the imaging and stuff, it looked like there was a couple things maybe going on in there. But once he had sent the referral for the ultrasound, I probably did that within the next couple weeks or so that I actually went in. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that was interesting to me in my story, sometimes you'll hear about people, they go get an ultrasound and then the room gets really dreary and you can tell right away this is cancer. It didn't happen like that for me. They did this ultrasound and they had found there were 2 spots that they had said looked abnormal. And both of the spots looked very similar to each other. And so they were like, honestly, we can't give you any definitive answers. We feel like we need to look into it more and do a biopsy.
Yeah.
And it's the waiting game of, okay, now we have to do another
Horrible.
test and look into it a little bit more. I probably scheduled that biopsy within maybe a week or so after the ultrasound. So it was a little bit of time in between.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, with the biopsy, they were like, okay, because both spots look the same, we're going to biopsy one and see what that looks like. Now looking back, I would have probably said, oh no, you can biopsy both of those.
Right.
Because you just don't know. And in my case, thank God they did the one that was cancerous, because if not, I might not be here to tell this, to have this conversation with you. So they biopsied the small spot that they saw. They put a clip on there. Heaven forbid something needs to be taken out. They want to make sure that they're, looking at that piece that they biopsied. So they put the clip on. And then after that, they even did a mammogram. Because they want to do the mammogram to make sure that they can see where the clip is located. And even in the imaging for the mammogram, they didn't see anything abnormal. They only saw the clip. Thank goodness I went for the ultrasound, because if he had just said, oh, we'll just go for a mammogram, they wouldn't have seen anything. And I think that's the issue a lot of times in women who are younger, because we do have that dense breast tissue in there, that it doesn't always give us a good picture. If something small, like mine was, it may not always pick up on.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a good point for people to hear too. I'm dense breast or not, advocating for yourself, doing the exam, taking a closer look. It's amazing to me, because I've had lately unique experience of my own.
Yeah.
But still, you do these tests. It's amazing to me. And I get frustrated, but I'm like, okay, well, technology is amazing. And it's also like, how is it 25 and you're telling me you're not sure what you're seeing, or we need to look a little bit further? And then it just feels like they put you through the circus of one test after another. And in the meantime, it's a waiting game. Our
100%.
minds can take us to a lot of different places.
That was one of the things that was so hard for me to grasp, was how do we not have more definitive answers? And our medical system, it's not perfect by any means. I think we rely so heavily on it. And then to see that there's so much gray areas in there, that was really eye-opening to me.
Yeah. And part of me gets it, because I feel like you can't say anything for sure until you have all the facts.
100%.
Right? They wouldn't have been able to say, we know for sure this is a cancerous, area, without doing the biopsy, looking at the tissue, without, doing whatever test that they run on it. But yeah, it's tough when you're the one sitting in the seat waiting to be given further instruction. Thank you for taking us through that. At what point, because I know just in starting to follow different people who have had cancer diagnoses, I'm now learning, oh my gosh, there's so many different types of breast cancer. At what point did they do more of genetic testing on you? And what was the official diagnosis, if you don't mind sharing that?
Yeah. He was diagnosed at the very end of January with having invasive ductal carcinoma. That basically means that the cancer formed in the milk duct and now it's invading other areas, basically. So it's not just in the duct anymore. Not to say that it hasn't metastasized necessarily, but it's just outside of the duct. They gave me that diagnosis after the biopsy. They were able to do that. And then they do grading, and then there's different types of breast cancer in terms of HER2 positive, hormone receptors, triple negative, which I didn't know anything about. I became a expert.
Why would you?
Quick when they start to do it. I feel like it took a while, weeks, to even figure out all that stuff. I remember at probably my first appointment with my breast surgeon was when they told me that I had triple negative breast cancer, which is one of the more aggressive forms. It also tends to be related to a BRCA mutation, which I did find that I am a BRCA1 gene carrier. They did that test soon after I was diagnosed with the cancer, just test the genes and everything, which that was honestly really surprising to me.
Yeah, of course.
I had cancers in my family, but no one had breast cancer early on like me. Maybe my grandma and my great aunt had breast cancer well into their 70s. So it wasn't like there was any indication that this could have been a possibility. So when I found out I was carrying a BRCA gene, I was like, oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, I now just feel like I'm following so many different types of doctors and people talking conventionally and unconventionally about cancer. And because it is on the rise in young people and there's so many different types and different parts of the body it can affect, I remember seeing a stat that like it was either 90 or 95% of all cancer diagnoses are not genetic at this point. So the fact that they found that in you, I mean, one, it's information, right? It's information. It's important information to know. I can imagine. I was actually going to ask you if you had any known history in the family.
No. Yeah. I mean, not really. Like I said, like there's been cancers in the family, but there was nothing that would have been like, oh, your family should get tested for this gene or anything like that. I do think that knowledge is power. And,
absolutely.
So like they went and got tested and, I have children. And that scared me. I'm like, I have a dog. Like, what does this mean? I'm hoping that we have more advancements by the time that she needs to deal with all this stuff. I do think that having that piece of knowledge is so important and can really prevent and help someone else from having to go through what I had to do.
Without a doubt. Thank you for sharing all that because it's hitting home for me being one of your best friends, but also having these conversations with people is important. But I also know that it's emotional.
Yes, yeah.
I appreciate you taking us through this and sharing it. And I do agree, knowledge is power. The more we know about our bodies, the more informed decisions we can make.
Yeah.
So what was the recommended protocol of treating this? What was the recommendation that they gave to you? And did they give you options?
So that was another thing that you learn in going through something like this is that there's never really any
cookie cutter.
This is what you definitely should do to survive and to have the best outcome. There's so much gray in it. And I remember after I had done the ultrasound, the biopsy, they wanted me to do an MRI. There's a lot of digging into it initially, which was one of the harder parts for me because it was like, all right, I found out I have cancer. Get it out.
Yeah. What are you waiting for?
And there was a month between when I was diagnosed to when I had my surgery.
Yeah.
It was almost like this waiting game. And then I met with so many doctors. I can't even tell you how many appointments I had. I went to a couple breast surgeons thinking a second opinion. This is, more information.
Yeah.
Very overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
now people are giving you different advice and different recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
I actually remember that there was one 24-hour period that the plan changed 3 times.
Are you finding yourself spending half of your income at Whole Foods these days? Let's face it, groceries are freaking expensive. But of course, we want to have the healthiest snacks around, right? Let me let you in on a little secret. Thrive Market. This online marketplace has every healthy snack brand around. Plus, they now have meat and seafood options. Hello, grass-fed meat, personal care products, supplements, and household products all in one place. But the best part, you get better prices than you do at your current grocery store. Yes, you heard me. Discounts on your favorite healthy food brands. And if you're anything like me and you check every food label on site for added sugar, seed oils, and hidden ingredients, you're going to love Thrive Market. Plus, if you click on the link in the episode description, I am giving you 40% off your first order. Yes, 40. That is a big deal. So make sure you stock up. Happy shopping, friends.
And it was like chemo first, surgery. Okay, surgery first, chemo. And my head felt like it was going to pop off my body. I was
Understandable.
just tell me what to do. I don't want to have to make a decision. Tell me what I need to do to survive this.
Right.
The other thing was that they weren't 100% sure exactly what was going on in my left breast, because when I had the MRI, there was 3 little spots that were noted to be abnormal. And like I had mentioned before, in the ultrasound, they had seen 2 small spots.
Right.
So they weren't sure necessarily how much cancer was actually in there. They had seen that the spot that they biopsied was small. So that was a good thing, but they were unsure, is there more in there? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so the plan right from the start, one of the things for sure was having a mastectomy. Initially, the talk was, well, you can do a lumpectomy, you can do a mastectomy, you can do both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of anything, I don't think I would have been able to keep both on. I would have opted to probably take them both off anyways.
Yeah, I think I would have felt the same, because you're just like, well, then is it just a matter of time before something goes to the other side?
Peace of mind. But after the genetic testing came back, that kind of solidified, okay, you should take them both off. You know, because it like with my mutation, it puts me at a much higher risk. I think it was like 40 to 70% higher risk of breast cancer by the time I'm like 45 or something. It was like high.
Wow. By the time you're 45 too, that's like...
It was high. It was younger. Yeah. Put me at a much higher risk for that. The plan then was, okay, we're going to do a mastectomy, but what do we want to do in terms of chemo and those kind of treatments?
Mm-hmm.
They found that, I'm trying to remember, I think through the imaging, and, you know, the best way is through pathology, but through imaging, they can get a pretty good idea of what size the cancer is and stuff. And they had found that they thought it was pretty small. And so with my age and the aggressive form of cancer that it was, they had said, yeah, you probably should do some form of chemo. Whether that be before or after, that was then kind of the conversation. Doing it before, they had said, well, you know, we can see how the tumor reacts to the chemo, and then that would help. Heaven forbid you have a reoccurrence or something later on. We know if this type of treatment would help or not.
Gotcha.
The other side of things, doing the surgery first, you get the actual pathology of what is actually in there. And then you can better make a plan for, okay, what do we think is best to treat this? Initially, when I said that 24-hour period when they were going back and forth, I was going to one doctor who was like, well, I can't get you in for 2 weeks because they have to also coordinate with the plastic surgeon to do the reconstruction. So he's like, we can't do 2 weeks. My oncologist was like, no, that's too long. We'll start chemo right away. Then he literally called back and said, I just had a cancellation. I can get you in next week. And
oh my God.
Like, can you talk to my oncologist? And then she was like, okay, fine, we can do surgery. And so I was going back and forth, which was
so much for mentally preparing you. It's like, all right, hell, let's fly by the seat of our pants.
Oh my God. And I'm just sitting here, like I had this cancer in me, like just get it out. I don't care what you have
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So ultimately we decided to do the surgery and the reconstruction and then do the chemo afterwards.
Yeah. I'm not a doctor, but I know from my own experience, and I've seen too from other people, of course, anything you do, any toxic medication that you take, like a chemotherapy, it's going to have an effect on you. Even though we were young, right? We were young, we were healthy, like we had a lot of things working for us. It definitely takes a toll on your physical body. So the way that this unfortunate situation had to unfold, it is a benefit. I think that the surgery was done first so that your
Me
body
too.
could recover from that and then prepare for the next steps.
Well, one of the other good things about doing the surgery first is you find out the pathology and
Right.
you get the best picture of what's actually going on in there. And in my case, there was only one spot of cancer in my left breast. So thank God they did the biopsy on the right spot.
Yep.
Who knows what else? There's just other stuff going on in there that looked
Yeah.
abnormal, but it was okay. My cancer was 0.6 centimeters, so
Wow.
really small. And usually with chemo, they recommend anything over 1 centimeter. Chemo is usually recommended.
Yeah.
For me, though, there's that gray area again of like, well, it's really small, but you're young. It's a very aggressive form of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was, like I said, a triple negative, which tends to be more aggressive. It was also rated a grade 3. And so they have a grading system. It's the grade 1, grade 2, grade 3.
Mhm.
Mine's literally, when I looked at it, I was like, damn, it was the highest number that like you could get. So
Yeah.
like that was scary. It's really aggressive. It can grow really quickly. And so for me in that moment, they kind of gave me a decision, I guess I would say, of do you want to do this or not? I was always in the mindset of it will do whatever I need to do
Mm-hmm.
to survive. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care. I was like, take them off. I was like, I'll do chemo. I didn't care at that point because I was just so in the mindset of like, I need to live.
Yeah. I have a
want to
young
live
baby
for
at home.
me. I want to
Yeah.
live for my baby. I want to live for my husband, my family. There just wasn't any other option. And so the good thing about doing the surgery first was that I didn't need to get as much chemo as I probably would have done if I had done the chemo first.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good thing.
Because it was more preventative. All of my doctors were very confident that they had gotten the cancer out through
Yeah.
the surgery.
Yeah.
The chemo was more preventative in that we don't want to have a reoccurrence.
Right.
We're going to throw everything at this right now to try to ensure the best outcomes in the future.
Yeah. God freaking bless Hill. This girl just celebrated 5 years cancer free. So let's talk about something good. Let's celebrate right now because I'm taking you down, I know, dark alley of the past, but that is so amazing. And I think people will love hearing that and love celebrating with you.
Yeah.
So it's just incredible. That was the journey. That was all the facts that we're presenting. And here you are looking amazing, living a wonderful life. Have another child, have a second child after all of this. And you're in good health. And nothing makes me happier than to know that and have experienced that with you, after all this was in the rear view.
That was a
I'm
big
so
one.
happy.
This 5 years, especially, like I said, different types of cancers and things like the triple negative, you're at a much higher risk those first couple of years, especially within the first 3 years of a reoccurrence. And then after that 5-year mark, the likelihood drops dramatically. I remember when I was going through all the treatments and stuff and being like, oh my God, where am I going to be at 5 years? I just want to make it to that point. And then being here, the surreal moment, to be able to feel that I made it. I'm here and I'm feeling good.
Yes. That's really important that you were able to say, where am I going to be at in 5 years? And you ask yourself that question and then you visualize.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you were, scared, but also visualizing that future. Our minds are incredibly powerful that when you have that visualization, your brain doesn't actually know the difference. So if we visualize the future, we're going to get there one day. And now you're there and you're looking back and you're like, holy crap, we did it.
Yeah, I agree. And what I envision, I feel like a lot of that has happened, which is so incredible and
Yeah.
thankful to be here and able to talk about this and hopefully help others in their journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how do you believe that your lifestyle and even, nutrition played a role in your recovery and now ultimately your health? And were the doctors talking to you about that at all?
Yeah, I think it played a huge role. I'm a dietitian, so I know somewhat of what is good to eat and healthy.
Yeah.
Not to say that I eat healthy 100% of the time. I'm a firm believer that moderation is key.
Yes.
But overall, I kept a healthy diet. I was very active before, and I continued with that activity even through my chemo treatments, and maybe not as intense as before, but even with just my surgeries. And I had to get my mastectomy, and then October of 2020, I got my permanent implants put in. And I feel like I was able to bounce back
Yes.
relatively quickly from that because I did keep that healthy activity. I think that was huge. And
It
that's
is.
something that I continue even now. It's just a part of my lifestyle, something I enjoy.
Yeah. What types of things were you doing when you were recovering from surgery or even recovering from treatment? Like, what were there certain things you were not feeling comfortable doing? Was it more just walking?
I was doing a lot. Well, I'm in Florida. Thankfully, we have most of the year that we can be outside. I think getting the fresh air too. I remember when I was doing the chemo treatments and being able to go outside and be in the sun, that was a game changer for me. And you know me, I love to run, and I would still keep up with that jogging. If I didn't feel as good, just getting out for a walk. But I always said to myself, there's something that you can do. What
Yes.
good is it sitting inside wallowing?
Yep.
That's not going to make me feel any better. So I would push myself sometimes, just get outside, even if you can just walk. And more times than not, I felt like I would do more than that. I'd be like, oh, I can jog a little bit or something.
Yeah.
But mainly I tried to spend as much time outside being active as
I
possible.
love it. And the fact that you are in Florida and you have sunny, nice weather is definitely a perk. I know how much the sun alone is healing.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying to me, come down to sunny
I
Florida
know.
whenever. I'm like, damn. But, I did the same thing. It was different for me because my surgeon, who ended up not doing the surgery at the time, was telling me because this thing was so large, there was concern that maybe there could be like stress on the heart or, affect my organs in some way. So he was telling me not to lift more than 10 pounds. And at the time, I was strength training and going to take classes and all these things. So that really startled me and got in my head because I then was nervous to lift weights. I still would walk. And even after surgery, my new surgeon, who I love, was like, are you kidding me? 10 pounds is a joke. 10 pounds is 1 gallon of milk. Like, no, you're not a delicate butterfly. You're fine.
Are you still walking around in those leggings full of microplastics? I know. Seems like nothing is safe anymore, right? It's ridiculous. I recently started changing over my clothing to more sustainably sourced, no harm to me brands, and I have been obsessed lately with Willy. It's made of 100% merino wool. Honestly, you have to try. Merino wool, it's naturally finer than your average wool, so don't think about like your grandma's wool, right? It's made of smaller, breathable fibers that actually regulate your body temperature. So I wore their leggings in the dead of winter when I was trying to get out every single day, even if it was 15 degrees post-op. I had not an ounce of body fat on me, so I was always freezing, and I was shocked at how it kept me warm and insulated on my walks. So obsessed. But it also wicks away moisture from the skin and is quick to dry. So really perfect for, now that it's getting nice out, we're going outside, we might be sweating a little bit. It's all good. It will regulate your body temperature. It's truly amazing. So I've been obsessed with their leggings. I also have short and long sleeve tops from them, which again are just so fine and soft to the touch. I was honestly shocked, and they're comfortable. They're cute. I mean, they have everything from like underwear to athletic wear. I can't wait to try more, but I had to tell you about this because I know honestly for a lot of people, who are hyper conscious, I should say, about wellness are looking at the trending topic of microplastics in our Lululemon leggings. So if you're looking for high quality athleisure gear that won't add to your plastic burden, I highly recommend you try Willy. They have everything, like I said, from athleisure to underwear, and you can get 15% off your first order using code JAMIEM15. That's JAMIEM as in Mazza 15 at checkout. So head on over to Woolly, WOOLLY.clothing and check them out. Enjoy.
And so what a contrast to your point, and going to see different doctors and getting different opinions. Everybody's got an idea of what works and what doesn't. But, the new surgeon really enabled me and encouraged me and gave me peace of mind. So I wasn't sure if you were getting any type of direction or suggestion either which way, but I love that you stuck with what you enjoyed, and when you felt good, you pushed yourself a little bit, just kept going, kept that momentum up.
I think going back to being an advocate for yourself and for your health and your body, no one else has your body. This is you.
Yeah.
What I feel is different from what someone else feels. And listening to your body, listening to what it needs, I know where I can push myself. And not to say that I was overdoing it or anything, but if something is feeling good in this moment, I feel like why am I not pursuing that? Why am I not, able to do that? So I think I tried to be very in tune to how I was feeling. And also, again, what made me feel good, because this was me going through this.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that was so hard, especially being diagnosed and going through the treatment. It was very lonely at times, even with so many people around me and family and friends. I still just felt alone because no one knows what you're feeling. No one knows what you're going through. And to do some things, like even trying to find little bits of joy, I was like, if I can find that, I'm going to hang on to that.
So important.
Yeah.
It's so important. Yeah. And this kind of answers my question, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on it. What inspired or motivated you? And it sounds like finding the joy was part of that to get through those challenging days.
Yeah. And there were a lot of challenging days for sure. I remember, especially in the beginning, there were some days I was like, how am I going to get out of bed? Finding for me little bits of joy. It was too overwhelming to try to be like, oh, I have to be so happy and what
put
can
on
I
a
find?
show for everyone.
Right. And finding little things where I had a young daughter and my husband and those little things. And I'm like, you know what? Even if I have to peel myself out of this bed right now, I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. And that was my mindset. I was like, I'm going to do what I have to do. A lot of people would say, oh, you're so strong. I would never be able to do that. I was like, you act like I had the option. I didn't choose this. These were the cards that I was dealt, but I'm going to do whatever I need to do to survive this. My joys, like I said, my daughter, my husband, my friends, picturing that future for myself that I wanted. I loved life. I was not ready to give up and say, this is it for me. I wanted to still have a future. Envisioning that for myself, that also helped to keep moving forward. And my favorite song.
I know.
And so I was like, I just need to take one step at a time.
Yes.
That's one breath at a time. I'm still alive right now. I'm still breathing. So let's focus on that.
Yes.
At this point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had you in my head as I was going through my hard days because it really stuck with me what you said. And when you shared it with me too, sometimes you kind of get sick of people telling you to be so strong because what other option do you have?
Right.
I then kind of twisted what you were saying. And it's like, yeah, what am I going to do? Am I going to curl up in a ball and give up? Or am I going to go to the inner depths to find out how powerful I really am? And how much I love life and how much I still have chapters to write.
Yeah. And, even now, every day is not rainbows and butterflies.
Of course.
But no matter what, I can find some joy, even if it's just a tiny little thing. I try to take a step back and look, okay, what's one little thing that is going well? What's one little thing that I love, that I appreciate? Kind of grounds you a little bit. But back to what you were saying about the strength thing, which I know that we talked about that before. I was like, oh, you're so strong. You're so strong. And one thing that I did realize, though, with my mindset of like, this is what I got to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up. I'm going to pull from the depths wherever.
Yeah.
Not everyone thinks like that. And I didn't realize that. I thought this is just normal. This is just how it should be.
Yeah.
But I found that was strength, and I was strong. And I guess I didn't really realize that at the time. Looking back, you're like, dang, I did that. I am a strong person,
Yes. And I think your desire for joy in your life, knowing you as long as I've known you, I mean, first of all, like I think back to some of the Broadway numbers that we did. We were quirky people, right? We're a little weird, but we like to have fun. I think about when Hannah and I did come to visit you right after your surgery. We were binge watching Love is Blind. Like, we all love like our trashy TV. I'm watching Gossip Girl right now, which like my sisters loved in high school. And it's just stupid, mindless, but like the days where I'm like, feeling a little bit of like that residual pain and like need to lay down. But sometimes we just got to do what we got to do. But we don't live in that space of dwelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you've always been somebody who has had a positive outlook on life and who has enjoyed life. And I think that we are a product of what we experience in life, and we can always choose the meaning that we give it. Some of us get knocked down quite a few times and decide not to get back up. And then there are others who say, okay, I'm going to dust off and I'm going to keep going because there's more goodness to come. And so I've always admired that about you and how you can even all these like silly little memories are coming to my mind. But I remember when Audrey was little and she loved that ponytail song. Like, I got a ponytail. Like, we would dance with her. And it's just like those little micro moments of the day are what puts a smile on your face, and it creates a ripple effect of like signaling to your body that you feel good.
Yeah.
And that is healing.
Yeah, 100%. And you've been here, we talked about for like forever. We've known each other, and my outlook on life had changed early on.
Yeah.
When I lost my mom at 17, really unexpectedly from a heart attack. And I remember thinking, wow, I was just so normal and everything was great. And then all of a sudden your life is split between the before and after of it.
Yes.
And I remember that was right around the time that we were going to college. You had to deal with me crying every night. But I think that going through that experience also helped me in this one because my priorities on life were already shifted. You know what I mean? I already felt that sense of finding that joy, finding good in the bad and the ugly, because I already knew how sucky life could be at times. And so I think that that strength had built up from early on in my situation.
No doubt. I wasn't even going to bring it up because it was definitely, there's no other way to say it. It's a horrible, tragic thing that is a timestamp on your life. But it did encourage at a young age you to have a total shift in perspective and appreciate all that life throws at us. So I do think, by the time it got to 2020 and that happened, it's like, all right, well,
here's another shitty thing, but let's deal with it.
Yes. 1 foot. I was actually just playing that song before we hopped on, like 1 foot in front of the
We'll play
other.
that after. That is our conclusion.
Yes, actually, that is one of the reasons why I didn't want to put my headphones on, because I'm like, if I play it, like, I wonder if we'll be able to hear it. But, we started off talking about a lot of the serious things, but I think it's so important for people who are listening to this story your story, your journey, to hear all of that you just said, because it is a choice every single day that we make to choose how we're going to feel. And that is a very powerful thing.
Yeah. And changing your perspective on things too. Like people could say you're the unluckiest girl, but they could also say you're the luckiest. I mean, my story could have gone a lot of different ways. If I hadn't went in and gotten checked when I did, literally months, it would have been months. And my prognosis would have been very different, to the point that I probably would not be here talking to you at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they biopsied the right mass, not the other one. And
Right.
there's just like a lot of things that I feel could have gone the other way, but it didn't. And so, changing your perspective and looking at the glass half empty, half full kind of thing, I feel like that's helped too.
Definitely.
To change your mindset a little bit.
And that's such a good point, right? I mean, we all know I wasn't Miss Polly positive all the time. I was a big worry wart. I was always like thinking about the gray. But I think this happening to me, also seeing it happen to you, it puts so much into perspective. And that is a really great point, because like you can look at both sides of the coin, same situation, and you're going to get completely different results and reactions.
Yeah.
So did you, in addition to moving your body and eating well, and, it sounds like finding the joy, spending time with your family, was there any other non-negotiables you had for yourself while you were healing?
Not really. I mean, I was a type of person that I wasn't able to share as much when I was going through it. I needed to process. That's kind of how I took it. I needed to process. I needed to figure out what was the plan, what was the prognosis, what was happening with me before I was able to share. And that was always something I wanted to do, was be able to share my story. But I guess like for me, I needed that me time. I needed to process first before putting that out there. And now at this point, I love to share my story, because I think that it can definitely help people who are at different stages of their diagnosis, or even have family members who are going through it, to get a perspective.
Yeah, I respect that. I think everybody handles it differently. I'm almost in disbelief of myself, and I'm very consciously, thank you. I'm very consciously aware that when I was going in the thick of it, I'm like, who am I to be talking about this right now? But I just felt very called to do it. And I think that for whatever reason, it's been therapeutic for me. You and I had totally different dynamics, where I took a giant step back from work and you were still working, right? You also had your family, so you were having to show up and take care of that beautiful baby girl every single day. And because I think of the physical limitations, including my vision and my eye, that was the biggest reason that I chose to step back from work. And so when I started this podcast, I'm here, I'm home a lot of the time, and Nick's going off to work, and what else am I doing? So all these ideas started coming to me, and you experienced it too. You have everybody reaching out, asking the same question. And I had a long waiting period of surgery, because I wanted to try other options, because the tumor was so large and chemo didn't really make the impression we were hoping. So there was a lot of waiting around, and I've just found everything bubbling up. I did spend a lot of time, to your point, tuning into my body and sitting with myself. And then I was like, I can't do so much of this all the time. It's going to make me nuts. So I was like, well, everyone's asking me what's going on. Let me just put it on a platform and start sharing. And I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. But the more I did it, I was like, okay, you almost put your Sasha Fierce face on, right? Whether that's good or bad. It's not that I'm performing for people, because I don't really sugarcoat anything, but I think it has been part of my therapy process in a way.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, having different experiences and different journeys with it. I'm with you. The whole process was so like stretched out. And like you said, with the surgery and then trying the chemo, I feel like with mine, it was very like, it was like fast, man. Like within that year of 2020, I had gotten 2 surgeries. I had gotten reconstruction, like chemo. It was just a lot all at
All at
once,
once.
really quickly.
Yeah.
And so that too, I felt like it was just, even after it, I was still needing time to process.
Like
Oh my gosh, like
stunned
what
what
just
just
happened
happened.
here?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, getting pregnant after that naturally was
Yeah.
such a blessing that I can't even, it is just incredible that I was able to do that. And it was like 2020, I was going through cancer, and then 2021, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And then I felt, even after I had my son, then I was doing a lot of processing, because then, I felt like, oh, the year that I'm pregnant, like you're so excited.
Yeah.
Your mind is on the baby and this new life. And then once I had him, I felt like another wave of things crashing down. I'm like, I need my anxiety meds.
Ah.
This is a
Yeah.
lot. So
Yeah.
it comes in waves too.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's right. All of that is a lot to process, whether you're doing it singularly or, to your point, it's just this domino of it all happening fast all
Yeah.
at once. I'm glad that you did take that time to process. I think we need it, because otherwise, yeah, it is just like this bum rush. I still wake up some days, I'm sure you do too, and it's like, is this real life? Like,
Same. I was just thinking that. Even now, I'm at the point where I don't think about it all the time, which I don't think I should.
that's
It's not
not
going to get me
healthy.
through
Yeah.
the day. Sometimes, especially when I do share my story or I do talk about it, it almost sometimes seems like I'm like telling a story about someone else. And then
Yes.
I have to take a step back. I'm like, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sucks. Like, wow, I've been through a lot,
Yeah.
and sometimes those moments too of that fear. Oh my God, this is a lot. I had a really aggressive form of cancer. Your mind kind of slips back to the what ifs. I think it's okay to have those moments too. I think sometimes getting that out, letting your body just get rid of those thoughts, and then you move on. And that's something that
Definitely.
I would say to people who are like going through that. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to have those woe is me moments. I think it's almost healthy in a sense that
Yeah.
you allow yourself that, but then also say, okay, that's enough. Let's keep moving forward with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. It's almost like, oh, she's like reading my mind with these questions, because I was going to ask, but you may have some other insights too. What advice would you give to somebody who is newly diagnosed?
Definitely that you're not alone, even though it seems
It
very
feels that
lonely.
way.
Even nowadays, like with social media and all that stuff. Like, I remember going on there, I'm like, oh my God, look at these people's like perfect lives. And that made me feel worse to like see
Yes.
some of that stuff.
Yep.
But knowing that you're not alone, ask for help. I think
Oh,
both of
yeah.
us have trouble
Mhm.
reaching out and asking for help, but realizing that like people do want to help you. It makes them feel good to
Yes.
help you. I almost felt like, okay, I'm not a burden on someone. People actually do want to give you that help. So, reaching out, asking those people in your lives that want to do something for you. It's hard and it sucks. And there's no way around it. But like I said, putting one foot in front of the other, one breath at a time, you're still alive right now. So, what are you going to do in those moments that you still have?
Mhm.
That can bring you some joy, some goodness still through the bad.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, you just gave so many pieces of great advice, knowing that you're not alone. Absolutely. I mean, it's so incredibly isolating.
So isolating.
I don't know if you had found people to talk to who had been through something similar when you were going through it. I know that really helped me.
Yeah.
And because thymoma is so rare, I've found only 3 women that I know of across the US.
Mhm.
And we're all in a group chat. I think talking to people who have been through it is helpful. And yeah.
That's one thing like I would suggest when looking for support,
Mhm.
is finding people who are in similar situations to you.
Yeah.
Because I remember like, it's easy to compare. And I would be like, well, I saw on this person's post that they did this many rounds of chemo and then they had this much more treatment. I'm like, am I not doing enough? You like
Right.
compare yourself to that.
Yeah.
And then also I had gotten into these Facebook groups like triple negative, breast cancer, young women with breast cancer, stuff like that. And I had to get off of it because you see some good, but the horror stories of it, it was just like, I'm going down a whole nother rabbit hole with this. And so I think being careful with those types of things, but definitely finding support in actual like people and people, like you said, like who have been through it or can share similar experiences.
Yes.
Can make a big difference.
Valid point. People encouraged me to join Facebook groups. I said there's two types of people in any type of Facebook group. The people who have all the best things to say. It's like people who write reviews. People who have the best things to say and they're just gushing, and then people who have like the worst things to say and they're just really miserable. And those people are just, they're venting, right? They're looking for people to support them. But yeah, it's hard to not internalize that
100%.
and be like, is that going to happen to me? For sure. And I think asking for support too, yeah, you're right. Like it still isn't easy for me, but I'm learning to just say yes when people ask because people have no idea what the hell to do in these situations.
Yeah.
No idea what to say. I still don't know what to say. I hate saying to people, I'm sorry with any situation. I'm sorry. Because it just doesn't feel, I can't even explain it. Like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of weight or meaning behind, of course, like I'm sorry. Like I feel for you. There's just, sometimes there's just nothing to say. And that's what I say. It's like, there's no words.
I think though that giving advice maybe to caregivers or friends and family is sometimes less is more.
Yes.
You know, when you try to say too much or you try to do too much, it's
overwhelming.
It doesn't necessarily help. Yeah. And so sometimes the actions will speak louder than words. You know, saying I'm sorry, giving a warm hug.
Right. Showing cooked meal. Like
exactly. Those actions I think can go a long way. And we don't. Like I'm the same way. I don't always know what to say. And sometimes your words just don't they don't give off the meaning behind it.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's okay to just say I'm sorry if that's it. But then like how are you going to show them?
Right.
That's what you're feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. I would find it almost felt just like added pressure too when I was in the height of it all for people to be like, what do you need? You know, and it's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm trying to process everything else that's coming at me. I don't know. If you think of something, just do it.
Yeah, just give it to me. Just do whatever you need. Because it's like in those moments, I'm already making all these decisions. I don't want him to make any other decision.
Exactly.
Anything.
Exactly. Yeah. All very valid points. And I think it's important to share some insights being on the inside to caregivers too, or, you know, friends and family members, because everybody has different ways of showing love. Everybody has different ways of showing support. There are people who take more action. There are people who are just like, I'm thinking of you, and it's all good and fine. There's no right or wrong way to love up on somebody when they're going through an experience like this.
That's what I love. Even just like the simple, like getting a text from someone, like saying, thinking about you, love you. Just that, okay, someone's thinking about you, you know, in their mind. Somebody cares about me.
Yep.
I think that those little things went a long way. I remember, I think it was Hannah who like had sent me a box of these boob cookies or something like that. And it was so sweet. Those little gestures of just letting someone know that you care. Those are the little joys that I got. I was like, oh my gosh, like it makes you feel, even if it's just in that moment, it makes you feel a little bit better. Great.
Yeah. That's right. Yes, exactly. I love it. The boob cookies. I do remember her doing that.
You would too.
Oh, what did you learn about yourself throughout this process?
I learned that I take a little bit of time to process things.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to give myself grace in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that I am strong. Even though it's hard, to people would tell me, I found that strength in myself.
Yeah.
And realized that, like I said, thinking back, like, damn, I did go through a lot. And I mean, in 2020, no one could come with me to my chemo sessions. I drove myself there. I drove myself home. I found that strength. Also, like I said, finding little joys in little things. And you find that adds up to the bigger picture ultimately.
Yes.
I found that I like who I am. Like I'm like finally 5 years later, I feel good. I am happy. You know, not every day. I have my moment. I'm not
You're
saying
not
that I'm
about
perfect by any means, but I do love my life. And I try to take a step back every once in a while to say, okay, just appreciate in the moment these things that you have and where you've come from and what you have to look forward to as well.
Yeah. All such good perspectives, really. I mean, really, to internalize that and to have witnessed your journey and seen everything that you've gone through, everything, like full picture of life, everything that you've gone through, but even just with this particular journey, you've kept going, you've put that smile on your face, not in a way that ever has felt fake, in a way that I know you and I see the joy. And you're right, like adding up all those micro moments, like it becomes
Mm-hmm.
the bigger part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that's really, really beautiful. And I am proud of you. And I love you. And yeah,
We've come a long way, girl. We've come
thrilled,
a long way.
thrilled to be, you know, here, even if I'm not there in person, but to just be like acknowledging and celebrating that big milestone with you. It's huge.
I appreciate it. And like I said, I just am so thankful that with our relationship and our friendship, even with us not being together all the time, we've grown in so many ways and been able to share these experiences together.
Yeah.
Not that we wanted to have these experiences, but again, we didn't have a choice in the matter, and being able to have someone that you can talk to about this stuff that has a lot of your same values and feelings. I mean, that's really special.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's something that I don't ever take for granted at all.
Yeah, same.
All right, girl. Last question. This was great. I appreciate you sharing so openly and being willing to go back and like think through that process. And everything that you brought up was a really valuable, valid point, all of it. And I hope people learn something from this conversation. I know they will. And also realize the light and the strength that they have in themselves. But I ask everybody one final question to close. So you're on the Forward Think Tank. What is it that keeps you moving forward in life?
My kids, for sure. My husband, who's amazing. And, we've been together for
Forever.
But just my desire to live a good, healthy, fun life. I think that one of the things that scared me the most after being diagnosed was I just didn't want to live the rest of my life feeling sick. It wasn't even necessarily like the dying aspect. Oh, you're going to die early. It was, you see some of these people who go through the cancer and stuff and they just never can get over that
Quality of
sick
life
for so long. And that was something that was really, really scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so now being able to feel good, being able to get outside and exercise and run, and like that to me is a blessing.
Yeah.
And so I think just being able to feel good, living a good life that I can feel that is what keeps me going.
Yeah. Yes. For sure. It's amazing. And our bodies are resilient, right? And
So
maybe it is true in what the doctors say. And I'm like, hey, when they say you're young, whatever. But I do think that worked in both of our favors to be able to
it didn't hurt,
bounce back from a lot of what we went through. I'm so happy that you're living your life and you're enjoying it. And I know just from my own experience, you want to squeeze every last drop out of what you've got. however long that is, you know?
Because we're all going sometime. Like,
right, exactly. We're not going to be here forever.
Guarantee. Yeah, that's a guarantee. And like, yeah, thinking about what do you want to get out of this time? Like, you only have one you.
Yeah, it's a great question to ask.
Like I said, I'm not perfect by any means, but I try to do things that make me happy, that make my family around me, my friends. I want to be able to live the best quality of life that I can, you know, for however much longer that I have here.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome.
Love you.
I love you. This was so great, Hill. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you're watching this, please give this episode some love because this was such a special conversation. You know, I've brought a lot of my friends on the podcast and a lot of them have been adult friendships. And this is something that's so unique for us because, you know, it's been many years that our friendship has stood the test of time. And here we are on the other side of huge hurdles with lots of life ahead of us. I'm just going to put that out there and visualize that.
Yeah.
Really, really inspiring story to share. So I love you.
Love you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I wonder what's going to happen if I do this. This was my vision the whole time. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So my vision the whole time, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Was for us to dance. I'm like, who else would do this with me? And this is the song that got you through your hard days.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's so
should like choreograph a little dance.
No, see, that's another one of your dancers.
I might still have my pom-poms somewhere.
You have your boots. You can put on our Jill's boots. Love it. You're going to be like, what weirdos?
Did you enjoy this episode? If so, I would appreciate you taking a moment to please leave a 5-star review. Every review helps visibility with this episode to reach more people. And I am on a mission to help people learn alternate resources to support themselves in their healing journey on their road to health. So please take a moment to leave a review, leave a comment. I read every single one and I respond back. And of course, the most helpful thing you can do is to share this episode. If you found it helpful, if you found it entertaining, please share it on social media, send it to a friend, a loved one, someone you think could find this helpful. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon.